I have to type it in.
And we are live. Hi,
Hey guys.
everybody. Welcome to Rollin with the Golden Oldies on Live to Roll. I am Julienne Dallara. I am your Miss Wheelchair California 2024. And we are about to crown the next Miss Wheelchair California 2025 coming up at the LA Abilities Expo in March. And today we are here talking because Valentine's Day is coming up. We're here talking all about love, all kinds of love. We got romantic love, but we also have love of pets. There they are. Love of pets, love of
Self
friends,
love.
love of work, love and
Hmm.
speaking of love of friends, my darling friend, Michele Altamirano is here next to me. Take it, Michele.
Hi guys. Thanks for joining us today. We're really glad you're all here. And as Julian mentioned, there are all kinds of love. And I think the first love that must exist is love of self before you can experience and welcome and enjoy all other types of love. All right.
Everybody says that, and it sounds really nice, but
Hmm.
it's remarkably hard to do, I have found.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially, I mean, as a kid, I was raised Catholic, and you're not supposed to love yourself. You're supposed to love God and everybody else. And if you're thinking
Mhm.
about yourself, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So that was what I got out of my Catholic training, and it took me well into teenhood before I could
Yes.
separate love of self and obsessed with self and I want what I want. So, how did you get there, Michele?
Um, Probably, yeah, after my injury and unsure of who I was really, trying to rediscover who I was. And self-love isn't selfish. It is acknowledging that you have value. You can be proud of yourself. You can be happy. You can have all these other emotions in your life that account for self love, taking care of yourself. Just simple little pleasures, little things that bring you joy. And there's a million little things out there, you know? Dedicating yourself to doing something that you really love and enjoy. The arts, writing, music, science, whatever it is that sparks that little fire in you that you just get lost in, and it's a great way, a great little escape when you involve yourself in some type of a hobby that gives you those 10, 20, 30 minutes just zoned out. And I think that's one of the greatest ways to experience self-love. Yeah. Okay.
I completely agree. The
Yeah.
fight I have on self-love is that little voice that says, Okay, all right, but you should be doing this. You should be doing that. Why aren't you doing this? This is more important. You should be doing that." I have to systematically take the shoulds out of my brain on a regular basis,
Yeah.
and find exactly what you said, Michele, those moments of
Yeah.
joy and gather them all together. Now, when I was growing up, I was a cute kid. So I discovered at an early age that my sexuality was a good way to make friends.
Hmm.
So my family is laughing right now, but I always had a boyfriend. Always, always. And, then there was lined up, the runners up. So when I broke up with this guy, there were a few runners up waiting. So it took me a while to get to
Hmm.
self-love because I thought being in love was what love was all about.
This
Mm.
is
Yeah.
t-shirt one, right? One, right?
Yeah, it
Okay.
looks like the
Oh,
regular t-shirt, yeah.
there. There.
Actually,
Yeah.
this size feels a little softer, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
That's
part of it too, before you go into loving someone else or, seeking someone else's
Have it muted when I switch
attention
to
that
the
you think
interview.
is love,
Wait.
is that if you don't feel positive or confident about yourself, which is self love, because I know it's hard. Oh, can you look in the mirror and tell yourself, oh, I love you? No. On occasion, I can say, you know what? I'm proud of myself. I feel accomplished. I'm happy that I was able to help so and so and all of that. And when you have that confidence, then people tend to look at you a different way. And you tend to be more approachable because you got it together, and especially as a woman in a wheelchair, it's like if you shy away and you're in the corner and you're just not open to receive someone's friendship or attention. Hello, Ellen.
Hello, I made it.
Then it makes it a lot harder. All right, our dear friend Ellen is here now. Yay! We're gonna let her do a little spiel.
Welcome, Ellen Stohl, who's just come from
Welcome.
teaching
Yes.
and running across town.
Yes, I wheeled home. It's raining out, so I tried to go as fast as I could. But Andrew
Yeah.
Skinner from Triumph Foundation was speaking to my class today, and then students had questions. And I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go. But But
Talk
thank you.
amongst yourselves.
I'm so glad everybody's here. I'm happy to be here. So you were talking about the way you present yourself. I'm Ellen Stohl, as Juliana
Yes.
said, and Michelle, you are just in the middle of something. So go ahead.
Yeah. No, well, we were talking about self-love and what it means to you. We're saying it's not so much that you can tell yourself, I love you, but the fact that you can say, I'm proud of myself. I feel accomplished. I feel like I helped somebody. Just those little things that you do that make you feel good are all part of it.
I think that's even more so. I was just going to say, I think that's even more so that being authentically who you are, giving of yourself, but also forgiving of yourself. I think that is a key
Absolutely.
factor, right? We're not
Yeah.
perfect. We're going to make mistakes.
Yes.
Things, we're going to blame our things that might not be our fault, but forgiving that you do the best that you can in the circumstances that you're given. And I think that that's a key issue is that, it may not be your best, but in the circumstances
Yeah.
of somebody screaming at you or honking at you, you do the best that you can.
You got through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, a lot of you ladies know that I lost my husband about 4 months ago. Dan died, and we'd been married 21 years, and now I am alone with my new best friends, my 2 kittens.
Oh.
And luckily, at this age, I just turned 65, and I really do have a solidity of, yeah, I am my best friend. I've been my best friend a long time now. So when I'm alone, I'm not lonely at all.
Mhm.
I'm with me.
Yeah.
I think I'm
Absolutely.
hysterical. And quite frequently, I'm
I
the
think you're
only one laughing at my jokes. But so
I will
that is
second that. I think you're hysterical.
Yes.
so much growth from, I remember when I was 18. The day I was 18, I moved out of the house and I got an apartment with some roommates and I was in my room by myself and I realized I have no idea how to be by myself. No
Yeah.
idea. I didn't know who I was. I was not my best friend. I just
Yeah.
was, unless I was reading or watching TV or otherwise or eating or otherwise distracted, I had no idea what to do with myself. So from 18 to 65, a lot has changed, and
Yeah.
it's been a
Mhm.
really good growth to get to this point here.
And I think it's harder when you are a wheelchair user, as far as because you may not be comfortable in your skin yet. You may not like how you look in the mirror because you don't feel like yourself. So, as you say, it's like you have to get to know yourself now as a wheelchair user with how your life has changed, and the only way you can do that is to be by yourself and really think hard about, who am I? Who do I want to be? What do I think I can be? Because you think I can't do anything. And it is definitely getting to know a new person, one that now, uses a wheelchair.
Now,
And
how
You
long,
definitely,
Michelle,
yeah,
after you were in the
yes,
wheelchair, how long
yeah.
did you meet your husband, or were you guys already together when you got
We
paralyzed?
were already together before my accident happened. So we met 40 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And my
What about you,
accident
Ellen?
happened.
I was injured at 19, and I met my ex-husband, but we were together for 29 years. I met him when I was right after my 30th birthday. So I had been in the chair 11 years when I had met him. So I was fairly confident. I went through a lot of uncomfortable dating before that, just trying to figure out who I was. But I mean, part of that's age. I think what I was going to say is like the disability magnifies the stuff that everybody goes through, right? Like we all
Yeah.
are figuring out our identities and who we are in our
Mm-hmm.
late teens and our early 20s. But then you throw this impairment in there or this significant different that you're adjusting to. And
Yeah.
I think it magnifies insecurities, it magnifies strengths.
Absolutely.
And so it took me a long, I mean, I was so trying to figure out my identity as a sexual being, as a woman. I know that research really for people in wheelchairs or with visible impairments that there are less sex differences seen between men and women. We're disabled people.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know that I had that thought in my head. I thought I was 18
Mm-hmm.
and wise and I knew everything until I
Yeah.
ended up one of those people. And I really had to sort of fight to discover that I was the same person. I was still a
Mm-hmm.
sexual being. I was still an attractive person. I now just
Yeah.
navigated the world with a different body, but it took a lot, and then it took me shouting it out to the world. Like I really had to,
Mm-hmm.
go out there and say, "Okay, I'm gonna post for Playboy and tell you all that I am a woman," right? And I think that was as much for society as it was for myself at that time, right? And then I got to go through and grow and become much more authentic, but very different than who I was at 18. And then,
Absolutely.
Juliana, you talk about losing your husband. I mean, going through divorce at 60 or just before 60 is, you're like, am I, all of those insecurities I thought that I dealt with in terms of, who am I? Like, will I ever find somebody? And then
Mm-hmm.
realizing that, like you, I'm comfortable with who I am. And if I never find anybody else again, I actually am my own best friend and like spending a lot of time by myself. So I actually don't need somebody else to complete me. It would be nice to have somebody to share things with, but
Yeah.
and that is I think the difference between being younger and sort of finding your identity
Mm-hmm.
in somebody else or in the relationship as opposed to I am my own person, I am my own identity,
Mm-hmm.
and that doesn't mean I can't connect with somebody, but it also doesn't mean
Absolutely.
I don't have to be whole, right? I don't have
Yeah.
to be whole.
Yeah. But I think,
Yeah.
for those of us, I mean, you were married, both of you, over 20 some years. And, in the back of your head, you're thinking, wow, I have somebody to grow old with. I've got a companion,
Oh,
not
yeah.
that they make you who you are. And it's scary. I mean, I'm still married. We've been married. It'll be 34 years
Woo!
this
Wow.
June. And just the thought of anything happening to him, a great illness, or God forbid, he passes away, or just that fear of, oh my God, I'm truly going to be alone, which I won't be. But just, having that expectation that we've been married this long and, we're going to grow old together. And it doesn't always happen, It, so you have to start to kind of rethink, okay, who am I now at this age after this experience? And I mean, at this point, do I want to date again? Do I want to get married again? What do I
Never.
want? Yeah.
Sorry, my
Not
internet.
a chance, baby.
No, I have no plans to ever marry again. In some ways, I feel like, I escaped a bullet of having to to deal
Yeah.
with. But I would like, I
Fair
mean,
enough.
dating, yes, I would like to find, there is a difference. I have great women friends. I have some good male friends, but there is a
Yeah.
difference in a romance. I've been, uh, chatting with a colleague on email
Yeah.
and it's been fun, right, to get an email and to have an energy, and I realize that's nice, but I love my house, I love my life, to have
Mm-hmm.
somebody come in and disrupt, like, or that I now have to, I don't know. I mean, who knows? But I at 60, it's different than when you're younger. And I do miss the idea of growing old with somebody. I think the fear that I have is that my ex knew all the, little things that are not necessarily attractive, that the gross little things that you might do, or the way that your body looks right out of the shower, or you know what I mean? Like there was no pretense, and there was an appreciation for who the individual was truly
Absolutely.
in the raw and in the basics area. And the idea of,
Mm-hmm.
I think about, how do I even, would I want to try to get there to that comfort level with somebody
Yeah.
again? Because I think that's a hard thing to do, to adjust to each other and to truly feel,
Absolutely.
and especially with a spinal cord injury, right? We all have
Yeah.
bowel and bladder accidents, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they happen in the able-bodied population, but for us, they're more likely to happen, right? And
Yeah.
so if you have a partner that's already been through those experiences with you, you don't have to feel embarrassed or ashamed anymore. Whereas with somebody new,
Absolutely.
I think it
Yeah.
might trigger some of those earlier insecurities, even though I can
Absolutely.
be
Yeah.
honest and open about it when it happened. Like, I could talk about it intellectually, but that's very different than if
Yes.
you're on a date and it happens and you're like,
The personal experience.
then
Yeah.
you're back to being that, 18-year-old
Mm-hmm.
embarrassed person again.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
wanted to,
Well,
Leon had said something in the chat, and then I'm going to let go, but trying to learn that spinal cord injury is not a disability. And Leon, if you adopt the social construct of disability, spinal cord injury actually is a mobility impairment. So we all
Mm-hmm.
experience mobility impairment.
Yeah.
You only experience disability if there are attitudes and barriers, physical barriers. So attitudinal barriers or physical barriers. So disability is actually a social construct. But the fact that the world is so not designed for people with
Yeah.
mobility impairments, both physically, mentally, attitudinally, we do experience
Absolutely.
disability 90% of the time out in
Yeah.
the real world. So we can consider ourselves disabled in that, with pride. But that is, just that's the teacher in me. Just
Mm-hmm.
saying. But
Yeah.
yeah, so go ahead.
And then I think, yeah, being in those long-term relationships, you've invested your time, your heart, your emotions, your love to be yourself with this person now in my life. And, it takes a while. Sometimes it takes a few years, so it's not like you can just, get up and go and I'm going to date and it's just going to be great. And
well,
you
I
have to work
question,
towards that now.
is love a decision, or is love something that you trip over, something that happens to you? Because it has a great price tag, as all
Oh,
love songs will
absolutely.
tell you.
Mhm.
Love, if love is a choice and you make that
Yeah.
choice, you know you're going to get hurt.
I think at times you can stumble into what you think is love, but then from that point on, you make the choice. Am I really invested? Am I really gonna open up and share my life and who I am with this person? Is this someone that I really want to be with past the week or the month?
I,
So I
So
I
think
you
it's
trip,
both.
it comes to you, or you trip over it, and you see it there, and you choose whether to pick it up or not,
Yeah.
I think
or you
I
pick
think
it up
that's
and you choose
attraction.
whether to keep
I
it.
think that's attraction. I think
Yeah.
attraction you
Hmm.
trip over. I think attraction
Yeah.
is a physiological reaction to another person,
Hmm.
their intellect. Humor is huge for me. So somebody that makes me think and makes me laugh, I find that I'm attracted to
Absolutely.
them. To
Hmm.
love them, I think it is effort and a choice. I
Yeah.
think we tell
Hmm.
ourselves it's love, but that is the attraction. We're trying to label this attraction and maybe
Yeah.
justify the way that we twist ourselves, or they twist themselves, or we work this
Yeah.
out. I think, and there's a great article. It came from either, I think, the New York Times, about how you can, like, 36 questions to make you fall in love with somebody, right? And they start
Oh,
small, but it's about getting to know each other authentically through these questions that
absolutely.
become
Yeah.
really much more vulnerable, where you're actually making the
Hmm.
choice to authentically
Absolutely.
share yourself, to go beyond
Who you are.
whatever that hormone attraction is,
Yeah.
right? That's attraction. You trip and you fall over that, and it can become a great love affair. I think if you choose to and do the work, it can also become love but that you start to get trapped in the roles that you created, and that
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that I know, my friend's grandparents, like her husband never saw her without makeup. She would literally get up in the
Oh
morning
my
and have
gosh.
to put her like,
That's crazy.
because to maintain that there's this thing. And I think with my ex and I, part of it was, if you can't grow together and accept the new versions of the self, if you want it to still be like it was, you want that
Yeah.
love addict craziness, and it's not there anymore, then was it love that evolved? It was love and attraction in the beginning, and there was love there. But if you can't evolve with that person, then you have to make decisions. And, he went and found somebody. I just read another article. It was great. She talked about, it was about a man in therapy, and it was also about being a love addict. But then that's where people go out and look for that feeling again, right? Like I don't, because you're not communicating and you're not creating those moments, and that takes work. So I think real love is work, and I think it's a choice that you make, an active choice that you make to work on from the start all the way to the end. And at some point, if you stop making that choice, that was my wedding there. We had a 1920s wedding. So when my daughter looks at our wedding photos, she's like, how old are you people? Like 100 years old?
That's very cool.
Yeah. So all of our stuff was done as the 1920s, and we had gangs there. Like, people were in gangs, and we played poker, and they collected money, and it was quite an event. We had no money at the time.
Very cool.
So it was fun. There's me. That's my bridal photo. My big bridal photo. So it was fun. That my daughter, someday somebody will find these pictures and be like, she's like 110 years old. That's right. I look at 110.
So Fernando says he's unlucky in love, right? I was talking to a friend just yesterday, because I knew the show was coming up, and I was thinking, well, now everybody finds love online, right? So when you're doing online dating, do you start out as my name is Julienne and I'm in a wheelchair? Or do you start out as, hey, my name is Julienne, I live in Camarillo, I like ice cream. And then if that's the case, then how and when do you spring it? Oh, by the way, my legs don't work. So my big cross section was just talking to one person, but his passionate opinion, from the online dating he's done, was just, no, you got to tell him right up front. You just don't want to spring it. Yeah, you don't want to start off a potential relationship dishonestly.
Yeah.
But I think I might do it as like in my picture. Just show me a picture in the chair, and then say, I'm Ellen. I like this, and that, and I use a manual wheelchair for mobility due to a spinal cord injury. Like, at the end of it, I would not hide it, but I don't know if I would lead with it because of the negative stereotypes and connotations. Like, first, if you get to that point after you read and that turns you off, then you're not the person for me anyway.
Absolutely.
You have to know up front. You can't spring it on somebody. I think that is really an unfair thing to do. Because just like you can't spring on, I have 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
That I think is unfair, right? You get involved with somebody, right? And they're like, oh, by the way, I have 3 kids. And you're like, I never wanted kids. Or, I think that's unfair. That's a conversation that he has. And I don't know that we're unlucky in love, Fernandez. I think that we sometimes want people that are not, like, I would think when I was younger, I would always date folks that there was no way it would work, right? They lived in another country. They were only here for this. I met them on vacation. These big romances. I had romances. But I think that, and you could say I was unlucky in love because they never transpired into anything. But I think part of that was the idea of, picking somebody that fulfilled me in different ways and fulfilled the story, but
Yeah.
not authentic love to build a long-term relationship with. And I think so you might not be unlucky in love. You might just be picking folks that aren't, the right match
Available.
for
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
or available,
Or
or,
where.
know,
Mhm.
are you picking people that you're really interested and connected to? Or are you picking, I mean, I know for myself, I can't speak for anybody else, but I know I would pick
Yeah.
people that had to look a certain way or be like, because I
Mhm.
felt inadequate. I wanted, just like, some men want the young, pretty doll on their arm because that's
Mhm.
part of,
Yeah.
the spread effect. And I
That's
was
what they
sort of
want.
like,
Yeah.
hadn't come to terms with my own body and my own disability. So
Yeah.
I wanted to pick the handsome, able-bodied, athletic, wonderful, blah, 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 to somehow
Yeah.
complete me, as opposed to somebody that made me laugh, somebody that made me
Mhm.
connected, somebody that was my mate. And my partner
Yeah.
was that in some ways. But then, you stop talking and stop growing. Look at that. Look at you, Miss
Yeah.
Michelle. And Juliana, you were
Oh,
just on. I don't know if you
hey.
saw
That's
your
fun.
pictures.
Yes.
Look at that baby. Oh, that's the so this is the thing that I've discovered. So the woman with her tongue out is my travel wife. She's my best friend. I've known her since my daughter was little. So we travel everywhere together, and she's got short hair and I've got short hair, and I call her honey, and everybody assumes we're a lesbian couple. And we just let them assume. We're like, it's fun. Because she's
Whatever.
been to
Yeah.
Greece with me, we go to cruises on everything, and they just assume, two women with short hair, they must be lesbians. And I'm like,
Well,
that's
good.
fun.
Then you don't
Yeah.
get harassed. Oh, he likes
Yeah. Yep.
fast women. Oh, there you go,
Oh,
Fernandez. So basically, what you're saying is the fault is your own.
there you go. Yeah. That's right.
Oh,
Aw,
Yeah.
but
Your
good.
yeah.
Break
expectations
might
of
be
people
helpful.
are, yeah. Hmm.
Oh my God, look at that 80s hair.
Oh, wow.
And that jazzercise
Good.
shirt. That is the 80s colors.
Little baby
Absolutely.
Michelle. So
Yeah.
we're
It
saying
was
that
silk,
there's love of
colorful
partner,
jewel tone
there's love
silk.
of friend,
Yeah.
and
There you go.
friend can also be partner.
Well,
Um,
I think that is a
up,
real love, right? Your love for your friends. I mean, we're much as we think we make
Absolutely.
the choice. We accept our friends' faults. We are there
yeah,
for them. We
Yes.
build better love relationships
Yeah.
with our friends than we often do with our romantic partners, because with our romantic partners, we're taking on a role or trying to be something. With our
Yeah.
friends, we're just us. And so,
like
Yeah.
like
I think
Fernandez.
you have no expectations, of
yes,
friends. You just know you're going to be there for each other, but you don't have to do this for me. You don't have to go here for me. We're there, whether we're close together, we see each other every day or every other month or once a year. If that's a
yep,
true
Mhm.
friendship, there are no
yep.
Yes.
expectations. Yeah. Hmm.
And I think in
Well, that
marriage,
Absolutely.
there's so many, right? There's so many in love. There's an expectation to fulfill me,
Yeah.
to your expectation that I should fulfill you, that we're supposed to be Ozzy and Harriet, that we're supposed to look like this or do that or have sex,
Hmm.
twice a week,
Yeah.
because that's what a
Well,
good
I
married
kind of
couple
see that.
does. And
I call that kind of
well,
like twisted love, where
mhm,
you
mm,
think you have to be a certain person to be attractive, or when your significant other has a certain expectation of how you should behave or be.
mhm,
So there's a lot of that. And sometimes some people fall into it and stay in it because maybe they're afraid they're not going to meet someone else that
yeah,
loves them for who they are.
well,
But
there's
at the
give and
same time,
take
they're not being authentic.
in
Yeah.
every
Hmm.
relationship. There's these many times unspoken exchanges, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So the expectation is that, you're going to make coffee and bring it to me in bed, but I'm going to make you
Yeah.
lunch the night before, whatever,
Yeah.
and all these balancing acts with friendships, with marriages, with work relationships,
Yeah.
right? All kinds of things. And as you said, I think, Ellen, with the friends, the more honest you can be, the more deeply you know each other, then those balancing acts aren't as tenuous,
Yeah.
right? Because
Mm.
you have a deeper knowledge of what you're getting into here and who
Yeah.
the other
Hmm.
person is. Now that's
Absolutely.
Buckingham Palace that you're looking at right there. And I threw that in because I was thinking of love of work. And
oh,
Hmm.
in Buckingham Palace, when this was the changing of the guards, and I was there last week, and
Mhm.
God bless them, England is not the most accessible country, but when you're going to the changing of the guards, they do have a section that of fence that they painted yellow, and that's where the people in wheelchairs can sit, and it's in
Oh,
front of the crowd. Thank you. So while sitting there, a bunch of these guys on horseback came up, and women came up and talked to me, just chatting, and they really loved their work. They are really dedicated to the monarch, and they are honored to work at Buckingham Palace. And they, even though now part of changing of the guard is that they have the guard band and they play music. It was the Star Wars theme and what else? Raiders of the Lost Ark theme that they were playing, which was so incongruous. But I was really impressed by how lighthearted and nice they were, but serious and dedicated. This is a big deal to be in the
yeah,
changing of
very
the guard.
loyalty.
So there's the
Very.
love.
There you go.
Absolutely. Love of work is incredible, and it sustains us and
Yeah,
gives us a strong foundation. I love my job. I love being a
yeah.
professor. I absolutely am excited every day to go. And I think balancing love of work, love of partner, love of life, love of
Absolutely.
friends.
Yeah.
I think that becomes an issue, especially if, as you put it, Michelle, twisted love, there's an
Yeah.
expectation. Not only does your partner have an expectation, but I think we have expectations of ourselves, right? Of how we're supposed to
Absolutely.
be, right? And
Yeah.
then if we let ourselves down or feel like we've let our partners down, then we can, if we don't communicate about that and aren't honest, I mean, then the walls build and the distance
It
grows
starts
and
falling
and, you
apart,
know, and
unraveling.
starts
Yeah.
falling apart.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Um,
And
I'd
sometimes
like
it's kind of a slow unravel. You know, it starts with one little thing and then it's another and here and there. And then you stop talking and you just kind of grow apart, you know?
yeah, it takes work.
And
Love,
that
yeah.
mhm,
Absolutely. Yeah. But it
and that's where
takes
that deep
work.
friendship comes in handy too.
And it's not necessarily hard work. Your heart has to be in it. Your heart has to want it. You need to invest the time and communicate and all of that. You know, it's not just, they say you really have to work at it. Well, absolutely. If it's something you love, and cherish, you're going to do your best to keep that relationship close and together and alive. You can't just let things fizzle out because they will.
No, I think it's the emotional vulnerability. That's the work that is there. Emotional vulnerability. Is that you, Juliana? Is that a picture of you?
Oh
I
my
can't.
gosh.
Of
My
love of
internet
I
work,
can't.
know. Yeah, okay, we need
A love of work.
a caption.
love of work.
Love
When I
of
was
work.
21, I lived on Big Island, and I was the first female pot grower on the Big Island because and of course it was desperately illegal, and the helicopters were flying overhead, and blah blah. So the men would go out into the jungle and plant the pot and make millions. The women would sit at home and trim the pot, drinking brandy and smoking pot and talking and listening to music, making $10 an hour. And I looked at this and went, I want to do that. So yes, I was the first female pot grower on Big Island, 1981. That picture was
Wow.
taken when bananas were. Look at that stalk of bananas behind me.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That is
Isn't
Isn't
incredible.
that a
it?
great picture?
That is an incredible picture. That is so awesome. That is
I
awesome.
loved
Yeah,
I
right?
loved traipsing through the jungle carrying an 80-pound pack with the helicopters circling overhead. And I
Oh
literally
God.
one time, as the helicopter went to land in the patch that I was planting, I literally had to swing like George of the Jungle from tree to tree to get out before the green harvest came
Oh
down
my
and
God.
caught me.
See,
Wow.
those are the stories. The stories that you can share and create with somebody.
Hmm.
The fact that at our age now, I mean, we've lived so much life. So when you meet, like
Yeah.
you said, what do you put on your profile? I would put that. I
Yeah.
mean, that would be my first thing.
Absolutely. There you go.
Yeah, I put that, like we have so much life that we have to look at people holistically, I think, and Fernando, you said your friends don't find you attractive. I bet they do. I think we often don't even realize our friends find us attractive
Yeah.
because we put them in the friend zone. So, there's that there. Yeah, absolutely. So Quad Forger talks about there are a lot of people that have want a relationship with somebody else who's been through similar stuff, right? I mean, it is something that can connect you if you both have an
Yes.
injury. So it is not.
And there
I
is
think
a dating app for people in wheelchairs because they wanted to advertise it through the Abilities Expo. If I can remember what it is.
Is it Dateability? Is it called
That's it.
Dateability?
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
dateability.
Dateability, and it's not just for people in chairs; it's for all people with disabilities. I think, isn't it? Or no?
Yeah.
I could be wrong,
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
all
there's a
disabilities.
shared experience and a shared understanding. So you're coming into it with at least some common ground. Whereas if you're an AB that's never dated somebody with a spinal cord injury, they don't understand catheterizing, or that you have to pick up the chair, or that you have to help position somebody for intercourse, or, like there's so much. And again, when do you bring this up? First date? Fifth date? By the way, when I orgasm, I might pee my pants. Oh, when do we say that? And you got to wait till you're having.
Yeah.
Like, then you find out that there are people that like that. You're like, oh, okay, get a little
Great.
fetish.
Or
Well,
just
that's where
kick
online
in,
dating comes in handy.
Yeah.
I remember dating, like, and because I back then I didn't have Botox in the bladder, and so if I had a spasm and would leak, so I was wearing pads, and I remember being on a date with somebody, and they're, we're sitting on the couch watching TV, and but then they're, you're getting handsy, and I'm like, I gotta go, like, because they're like, because I hadn't said, oh, by the way, I'm wearing protective underwear, and now I'm like freaking out that and I'm like, I gotta go, like, because I wasn't authentic and real. And if you can't be authentic and real, this is what I tell my students all the time. People with disabilities that are authentic and real have the best sex, whether it's holding hands or swinging on chandeliers, because
whatever it is,
we have to talk about it, right? But if you're not authentic and real, you're going for this Grey's Anatomy orchestra music and rose petals, and that's not real. You're trying to create some idea.
Yeah.
But if you are intimate with somebody and you're honest, then it's real, and it can be whatever you decide it is. So, I know back then I was trying to be the playmate, right? Without being honest about my body and my body needs and what my body wants and how my body works, because I was still ashamed of it. And if you're not at that point yet, that you're not ashamed of your body, then don't be intimate with other people. They're not gonna. The fact that they make you feel good for that moment only makes you feel worse, because you're like, but they don't really know me, right?
You haven't been honest.
Yeah, hold off until you are really comfortable saying, this may happen, and we're putting a pad down because I don't want to change sheets afterwards.
Right, so there you go.
Yeah, I remember a boyfriend who told me that I was the best lover he had ever had, and I said, well, what did I do? And he said, well, you told me to look into your eyes. He was one of those, look off in the heavens and have sex guys. It's like, and I went, hello, me, here, now.
You need to connect.
Change.
Yes. This is an emotional connection, not just a physical one.
Yeah. It's like, well, what was he hiding, or what was his discomfort? Maybe.
I chose not to ask. Just grabbed the head and turned.
Yeah.
I think we are raised. I mean, we're raised to think that sex is love.
Yeah.
Right? Sex is not love.
Good point.
Sex is not love. So I think that if we gave young women vibrators and said, learn how to pleasure yourself, so that when you have that urge, because hormones and attraction, and you feel like it, and you're like, this is how we get these, we're not prepared for it. Go home, satisfy yourself. And then if you still like that person, really authentically like that person, then pursue a relationship with them. But our physical, because we are pre-programmed, like our snake brain, biological beings, to procreate. There are hormones and everything to make this happen, because that's the survival of the species. That's not our brains always that are connecting us. So really connect.
Physiological response. Yeah.
The physiological response. Put that to the side and see if it's somebody you want to work at. to build a loving
Yeah.
relationship. You want to be
Definitely.
vulnerable. You want to be honest. That they
Mhm.
Here's the thing, at my age, I'm looking at your tax returns, folks, right? Like, because if I'm dating somebody my age, it's not that I want their money. I want to know that at my age, they have a responsible life, that they're a responsible human being, that they
Stability.
have their own
Yeah.
interests, that they grew as an adult, that they're not still operating as a child.
Ellen, are you available to run the Department of Education? Because I
Oh
really,
God, right?
I think teaching the girls to take their vibrator home and rather than the man, and then teaching the girls to look at the other person's tax returns.
Yeah.
I
Those are
really think this is good.
I would love to. No, I think that we have to be honest, and because we teach abstinence for religious reasons is great if that's what you believe, right?
If you
But
choose. Yeah.
if we don't teach them about sex and physiological functionings, this is when we find people that don't prepare or are not prepared to deal with the fact that their bodies, especially in puberty, will take over your brain, right? So no,
Absolutely.
like, oh,
Mhm.
this is not me. I am not in love with that person. This is my body attracted to that person. Because
Absolutely.
I
real
didn't,
love is
I didn't
work.
Yeah.
know that.
Oh, I
Those
didn't know that.
pheromones.
Oh, please. I slept
I
with my
thought
ex the
anybody,
first
I thought
weekend I
anybody
met him.
loved me, I must automatically love them back.
Yes.
Mm.
That you too? I thought I was the only one. No,
Yeah.
if a guy said that, he really, really liked me, I thought, well, then I must like you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe
Oh,
why I was
Not
married 3 times.
right.
Yeah.
Or there, my other friend would be like, she'd like somebody, and then when they'd like her, because she didn't have a solid sense of self, would be like, "What's wrong with them? Why do they like me?" Right. So
Oh,
she liked
Oh,
the chase, but when she
wow.
got somebody, she became rejective of them because her own sense of self was
Insecurities. Yeah.
insecurities that she was using other people to like. You know, you have to like yourself. You
And then
have
like,
to like yourself to
absolutely.
be able to authentically share yourself.
Hmm.
And if you
Absolutely.
don't, you need to be working on making you your best friend, right? Warts
Hmm.
and all.
Yeah. Yeah.
so if you're single these days, like apparently Fernandez is, and Quad Forger is, you can do online dating. Um, how, well, I met my most recent husband at the Abilities Expo. How did you girls meet your significant others? Zoom.
Well, and I just want to, Fernando, women, it's always about money. It's not. I don't want their money. I just don't
Not
want
at all.
them. I want them to have their own
Wasting
money.
mine.
Yeah, I don't want them wasting mine. I don't need a man's money or another woman's money. I want to know that they're responsible adults, right? You're a responsible adult. But
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
met my ex. I was doing research for the Martha, the Reeves Foundation. I was doing Martha out there, the hospital. I can't think of the name right now, on the physiological sexual functioning of spinal cord injured women. So they were testing to see, like, what was going on with our bodies. Were we sweating when we orgasmed? Was there a heart rate increase? So we were basically masturbating with all these parts on us, like electrodes and everything, measuring everything. And
Okay.
I was staying at my hotel, which had a happy hour, and somebody at the hospital had said, "Hey, you want to get drinks?" I'm like, "Yeah, meet me at the happy hour." And then we got there, and he's a great guy. Wasn't attracted to him, but I was like, you know how when you're on a date, you're like, let's meet everybody else at the bar. Hey, who are this couple? Who are these people, right?
Hmm.
So I was doing like, hey, this is not going to work out between us, but let's find other. My ex was there playing a dart game because it was a sports bar from down the street where he worked, and so we hung out for a really long time that evening, dancing, and I had drank far too many Australian Quaaludes. So when he asked me if he could buy me a drink, I'm like, no, water. I need water. No more drinks. So we hung out. The interesting thing is his friends all thought he was being nice to the girl in the wheelchair, right?
Mm.
And they were like, hey, we're leaving. Need a ride. We're going now. And he was like, I have my own car. I'm staying. He was
Giving
like,
him an out.
giving
Yeah.
him an out. And he's like, no, I'm staying. So we hung out that whole weekend together, went to Atlantic City together. And 6 months later, he moved out to Los Angeles and we were
There
together
we
for
go.
9 years. But a lot of hard times because we connected predominantly through the physical attraction. And then we had to work through all of the other stuff, but we didn't have a solid foundation, which is why I think 30 years later, you know,
Hmm.
it fell apart. So
Hmm.
I think that had we been friends, had we really worked on laying that solid groundwork, we might have been able to evolve more effectively.
Mm-hmm.
I
Didn't
did
you
take him.
take
I
him to
did take.
Disney?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Bobby. We went to Howard Stern. Well, I was actually he moved out in. Yeah, we flew out and we were on Howard Stern together, and he
Oh,
just
very cool.
smiled the whole time. But again, we were in that young. What we are taught that love is that feeling, right? It's that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That's attraction. I think that we really need to teach there's a difference between physiological attraction, even psychological attraction, even emotional
Mm-hmm.
attraction, and
Absolutely.
building what love is. And I think as I've gotten older, the one thing is that love is a choice and love takes work. And part of that
Absolutely.
work is being vulnerable, being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
that that's hard. I think especially for the men that were my age, raised the way that they were raised to
Mm-hmm.
be authentic, to be vulnerable. They are not, they weren't given the tools to do that, and I think that can be a problem. So,
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
How about you,
Part of
Michelle?
it too, I think I was gonna say, is that it kind of depends on the household you grew up in. What example did you have from your parents or relatives? Was this something that you wanted to have in your future? That type of relationship? Or was it hell no, I'm breaking the cycle and this is not the type of relationship I want? And, going back to that, not that in my family there weren't issues with my parents, but the one thing, even though they had just had a big old blown out fight the night before or whatever, my dad always kissed my mom in the morning before he went to work. And that
Oh,
was something that, wow, you know what? In spite of all this stuff that's happening, he still showed her that, hey, he was with her, he cared for her. And that was a really powerful thing, later on. And
ding.
I met my husband, this was the early 80s, in a nightclub, believe it or not,
I do believe
in
it.
California. And as far as, the attraction and all of that was, he didn't have a corny pickup line. It was just a very casual, hey, how are you? Are you coming in? Blah, blah, kind of a thing. And he made eye contact. That was one of
Oh,
the things. It's like, I thought, his eyes got me. I mean, he was very handsome, but it was that eye contact and the eyes that it's like, okay, this is someone I want to get to know.
Yep.
And yeah, so here we are 40 years later,
Woo!
wow.
That's awesome.
and it kind of seems fairy tale like, but then I left and then I came back to California to go to school and, just life. And then my accident happened. And he decided that he wanted to be there for me. And, a lot of stories that I hear after, my injury when I was out of it. And just he had that sense of, what would it be? Not obligation, but he felt a responsibility because he cared for me and he loved me and that he was going to be with me through thick and thin. And if that doesn't make you fall in love again, well, I don't know what will, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I would
it was
just
pretty cool.
Andrew and Triumph told me because he always comes in and talks to my class, but he was just telling his story that he tried to push his wife away, Kirsten away, right? Push her away. And
Absolutely.
she said, I didn't fall in love with you because you walk. I fell in love with
Yeah,
who you are as a person. And I think that is
absolutely.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cute is a relative term. I mean, I think there is a social idea of what is attractive, but I also think cute is in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder because I know that I
Absolutely.
find people attractive that
Uh-huh.
typical, I think typical society might go, okay, they're looking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, me too.
I will say personality changes. So if you've never seen The Following with Kevin Bacon and James Purfoy, which is a great serial killer movie, but okay, Kevin Bacon, not the most attractive guy in the world, right? But
Yeah.
James Purfoy, beautiful. I mean, just damn handsome
Yeah.
on all those levels. By the end of the show, because of who they are,
Mhm.
like you, James Purfoy makes you want to throw up, right? You look at
Mm.
him and who he is as a person and his
It's
personality. Whereas Kevin
absolutely.
Bacon, with his goofy, skinny little you know, he was not the leading handsome man. I mean, maybe in Footloose, but even then he was kind of goofy.
Yeah.
But you find him incredibly attractive because of the person in the ways. So I think that I at least for myself, I can't speak for other people. Somebody can be incredibly attractive. It's their how they act and behave. I dated somebody, and he was like 6'2", you know, just chiseled chin and everything, but his body language and the way that he treated me and the ownership and would stop by, I like became very unattractive to me very fast, right? So I think
Mhm.
that the initial attraction can be certain physical attributes, but I
Yeah.
think especially for myself, I speak for myself, it really is if they're funny. Suddenly you look at
Mhm.
them through a different lens and suddenly
Yeah.
that cuteness and attractiveness is very different. So honestly,
Mhm.
I think if you are authentic and real, and then whoever, I mean, you know, whoever falls in love with you is going to think you're the cutest damn thing in the world, because
Absolutely.
what is
Yeah.
it, My Funny Valentine, right? The whole song is all about having
Yeah.
a girl or that's, you know, kind of goofy and not symmetrical and perfect, but you fall in love with who they
Yeah.
are as a person,
But
and
none
then
of us are, right? You know?
no.
Yeah. Not at all.
Well,
And the
Fernandez,
thing
I got to
is,
address Fernandez over here, yeah, I'll start as your therapist for 1 minute.
yeah,
And
right.
it's
Lots
not
to
that
unpack.
nice guys finish last. And for me personally,
Absolutely.
it's never been what they look like. I
No.
told you I've dated so many men, and no two of them looked alike.
Yeah.
And I didn't care what they looked like. I wanted a grown up. I wanted somebody who could do his own grocery shopping and not go, I don't know what kind of cheese to buy. Help me. I want a grown up. I want somebody who is fiscally responsible. If he only has 25 cents, what's he going to spend it on? You
That's
know,
right.
is he going to gamble it? Okay, I'm not really
Yeah.
interested. I want somebody who makes me laugh, who is well read, is not a
Mhm.
dummy and is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just the
And
cutest guy in the room isn't, sorry, Julian.
for me, it was never about sex first or
Yeah.
looks first. It was about
You were
can you
injured later
pass
in life.
me?
Yeah, right.
I was young. I was 18, for God's sakes. It was all about sex and looks and all of that back then. And then I
Fernandez, you're
learned.
typing and you're not listening.
You're not
All right,
listening.
I'm not going to be your
So yeah,
therapist anymore.
no.
But
I would just say that
Yeah.
the person that I've had flirtatious things with, balding, not, you know, like not
yeah,
would not you would not be, you know, not Brad Pitt, but I mean, at this point, being interesting and funny and authentic and real. I like
Mhm.
the physically responsible. It's not about how much money you have, it's what do you do with your money? How do you handle
Exactly.
money?
Yeah.
Um, you know, how do you balance life, work life? How do you treat your family, your extended family
Absolutely.
member? Like, how do you
Well, one
interact
thing
with
that
the
comes
them?
out a lot
waitress and in the
is
restaurant. How
yes,
do you
when you
treat the person
first
who's serving you
Yes,
at
the
the
waiter.
yes,
restaurant?
Yes.
Head giveaway.
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you treat workers? How do you treat people who the ushers at a place? Like, how are you
Yeah.
interacting with people? I think I really there was a survey done once. What do men find most attractive about women? And the survey was done, I think it was a Playboy survey way back in, you know, when we did all those, but it was confidence, confidence, right?
Absolutely.
Confidence. You can be dressed to the nines. You can look amazing. You can like look like you came off the cover of a magazine. But if you don't feel comfortable in your own skin and confident with who you are, people
Yeah.
might admire you, but they're not going to
Mhm.
connect with you. And you can go out
Absolutely.
in ratty clothes with dirt on your face, but if you're smiling and laughing and people are drawn to that authentic confidence. My sister, who's
Absolutely. Yeah.
6 years older than me, she's smoked her whole life, so she has wrinkles, but she is very authentically. I mean, she just, you know, she would not be on the cover of a magazine
Yeah.
for. I mean, she might be on the cover of Lowe's because she's incredible.
Yeah.
With everything, but people are drawn to her, men,
Mhm.
women, children, because she's just incredibly beautiful in her confidence, in her skills,
Mhm.
in her intellect. She's
Oh,
funny, and
absolutely.
I was lucky, as we talked about, you know, our families, what do we model, to have that as a role model
Mhm.
you know, do what you do, love what you do, and enjoy life, and people will be drawn to that. I think really is the
Absolutely.
whole thing.
It's that love me how I am
Yes.
or leave me. It's like when you have that little bit of that confidence where it's like you're not seeking someone to, you're yourself. You're on your own. And if it happens, if someone is attracted to you, I've had friends that have had rough patches in dating and all of that. And my advice is like, you know what? You will find someone when you're not looking. Because when you're looking to meet someone, you're trying. You're trying too hard to please everybody or maybe be someone you're not authentically. But when you're not on the lookout, you're yourself, you're relaxed, and they get to see you for who you really are, not just that, put
Yeah,
on
I
that.
would say
persona.
dating. Yeah, dating. Do things you love. Go to things you like. So my
Mm-hmm.
plan for dating in the next year is to not go to bars, not go online. I can't even imagine ever going online, but to
Yeah.
go to fundraisers for organizations that I support, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
There's
makes
going to be
sense.
people there, whether I meet them or don't, I'm there to support the fundraiser. I'm passionate about what
Absolutely.
I'm going, and if I happen to meet somebody, then I know that they're passionate about the same thing I'm passionate
About
about. So
that too.
there's
Exactly.
equal thing. Now it's Valentine's Day coming up, right? And I don't know if this is real or not, so you guys can snoop it, but I did see this, I think last year, that the heart shape that we see, right, is
Mhm.
came about from two anatomical hearts being put
Oh,
together,
okay.
and the two anatomical hearts put together, if you look at an anatomical heart, it's like a half of a heart. It creates that
Yeah.
traditional heart shape. But the
Right.
amazing thing about that I like better is that they're two separate hearts. They are independent and of their own, and they come together to create that
Absolutely.
shape. So
Yeah.
if they split, the heart is still whole. It is not a
Yeah.
broken
Absolutely.
heart. Your heart is not broken. You
Yeah.
have disconnected from somebody, but your heart is still whole. And
It's
I
still
like
pumping. It's
last
still
year
pumping.
going through my first Valentine's Day as a divorcee was really hard. And I saw that and was like, it's right. Yes, my connection is gone. That is not there. But my heart is not broken. It's actually still whole, and can still
It's
love and live and
absolutely.
connect. And that's, I mean, that's why I have my
I
tribal wife
like that,
because
Ellen. I like that
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
what's a situationship, Christo? Girls?
Oh,
Christo says we all believe
situationship.
in situationships.
Situationship.
What's a situationship, Cristo?
Well, context clues would say that it's, hey, love the one you're with, essentially. Am I right?
Is that it?
Let's do it. Let's do it, and you go home after 45 minutes. Oh, that's a hookup,
Mm-hmm.
But I think
right?
maybe situationships is also because I think COVID created a lot of situationships where people
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
like housing went bad and you ended up being together and
Yeah.
now you're in this situation, or you're roommates and you happen to like realize that I would say that I think situationships aren't bad as long as you're authentic about what you
Yeah.
both want in it, right? It's like
Yeah.
anything. I just want a friends with benefits and that's
Yeah.
great. But don't lie to the person where you want more, but you're just going along with friends with benefits because you don't want to
Yeah.
rock the boat. Like,
Yeah.
be honest, be freaking honest. And I know it's hard, but it will save your
Mm-hmm.
ass in the long run. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're honest, that other person might move forward and,
Yeah.
connect with you and want to be at that level. But it's like saying, no, I don't want kids. And then you get married and go, but I really did want kids. I just figured you would
Oh
love
yeah.
me enough that you would
Oh
want what
my
I want.
God.
It's
Yeah.
like, okay, no, don't
Yeah.
ask people to change into who you want them to be. They have to be with who are, and hopefully you evolve and grow together,
Yeah.
or you evolve and grow and amicably spit. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, situationships happen. You're on a
Yeah.
cruise with your buddies, and maybe it'll evolve into something else. But be honest. But if
Yeah.
you cheat on each other, it's just for. I
Not
don't
good.
know. You
Yeah.
have to be honest. I mean, I think there's a whole thing out there right now about even in married relations, long-term married relationships, about monogamy a is a human construct. It's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily right. So if you're I mean, I have friends that are in thruples. I know I have some very good friends that are thruples that have
Mm-hmm.
two one is two men and a woman and the other one is two women and a man, and they have kids
Mm-hmm.
together and they all live together, and I have friends that have open marriages, but they talk about it. It's not behind the back, the communication.
Absolutely.
So when my partner decided that we weren't communicating and he needed to get his love addiction from somebody else, had they come to me and discussed the issue, it would have been a very different breakup than having an affair and doing behind the back and letting the chips lie. So, again, relationships, sex, all of it, there is no one way to do it right.
Absolutely not. No.
But there is that everybody is on the same page when you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
And that's kind of like life
Very true.
all
Yeah,
together.
exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
There you
I
go.
really like that you said when you're looking to find somebody, you're going to go to a benefit so that you find people with similar passions. And also,
Absolutely.
I think if you're going to a benefit or something like that, you're going to find people in general who have a good heart,
Yeah.
right?
I hope.
Mhm.
Not a whole lot of assholes at,
Yeah.
this, let's
Giving
raise
their
money.
money away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a whole lot of
But
assholes giving their money away.
you also meet amazing couples. Like I am part of the Soraya, which is at CSUN, which is an incredible performing arts center.
Yeah.
And I'm part of, well, I haven't paid my dues yet, but I'm going to be part of the ambassadors again. And we go to a luncheon and I meet incredible women, right? Like that.
Mhm.
I just found a woman who's in her 80s and she's got her hair and she's, I was telling
Yeah.
somebody, she's beautiful. Like she's just not glamorous beautiful, but beautiful because she's just authentic and real.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's so nice that when I go to these things, I'm not looking for the next man or next woman
Yeah.
or next partner. I'm looking to meet people with similar passions, with a similar heart. And, who
Absolutely.
knows? Maybe my next romantic relationship will be there. And if it isn't, I still had an incredibly great time supporting and doing
Yes.
something I love. So I would
Yes.
suggest, the Triumph poker thing. Every time he has it, I'm always somewhere else. But it's an incredible thing to go to, right? You meet people, play poker, and raise money for
Even
Triumph.
though we can't play poker anymore.
Okay.
They can't?
Fernandez needs
We
the
can't play
definition
poker
of
anymore.
Why can't we play poker anymore?
Apparently that's gambling.
Yeah.
But it's not real
Yeah.
money.
No, it's not.
I can't play poker. There's no DEI. I can't play poker. There's
Oh,
no
my
Department
goodness.
of Education.
What's this world coming to?
That's
What
right.
the hell? We're going to hell with a
Humbling.
handbasket. I'm getting my
Did you see-
handbasket today.
Did you see what Olivia wrote? Black
I did
Olive?
not. What is Black Olive?
Oh, okay. Well, she said
Yes.
both parties have to be mature enough to state your current boundaries, to have the guts to say it, have the guts to hear it, right?
Yes.
And then as things change, you got to call it out. You
Yeah.
can't just keep pretending that
Yes.
it's like it was before.
Absolutely.
And
Black
my
Olive is
mom
not only
used to say
beautiful but
that-
wise. Beautiful
My
and
mom used
wise.
to no. I'm one of 8 girls in my family, and my mom used to tell us that only you know what you are willing to accept.
Mhm.
That is your decision. Where do you draw the line as far as your partner's behavior or treatment of you or lack of respect or whatever it is? If you allow it, then he's going to continue to do it. If you say, that doesn't work with me, and you stop it at that moment, then you're done.
That's
And
such a mom thing to say,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It
Really?
is. And
Absolutely,
if you
yeah.
find yourself, because it's easy to get beat down and told, but you'll know in your heart, and hopefully you can get the resources to get out and say no. I just want to throw it out there that if you find yourself in a situation where they've crossed that line and it's not your fault and it's really hard to get out of, but you know it, and there are resources out there, and please find them. And this is
Absolutely, yeah.
especially true for people with disabilities. I think sometimes if we feel that we are damaged goods in some way, we are more prone to have people that might take advantage or abuse, etc. Again, it comes back to what did we start this with? Self-love.
Yeah.
When you can truly love yourself and be with yourself and feel confident and authentic in who you are, the chances of that will happen will reduce greatly. Your ability to set boundaries, reevaluate, and be clear
Absolutely.
will be stronger.
And the more clear you are on that, the more personally mature you are with your own self-love,
Mhm.
the more likelihood that you can find someone else like that.
Yes.
because
Yeah.
you're not going to find, I mean, an idiot asshole is not going to um, find someone who, and to be able to keep someone
Yeah.
who really
Absolutely.
has that
Yeah.
maturity and self-love.
Yeah.
It's just never going to work,
And if in
right?
the beginning of a relationship, you get that little feeling deep in your gut, that little red flag that's waving, please pay attention to that. Please. Yeah. Your
Watch the
intuition
yellow
is
flag.
always right.
You
Yeah.
mean
Watch your
that
intuition.
pink flag?
No, yeah, watch the red flag, the yellow flag, all of them.
Any flag. Yeah.
Don't, if you're changing yourself, if you're, unless, if you're altering your essence to mask and to be something that you're not, it's sort of what you said, Juliana, about like online dating. If you're
Yeah.
masking part of who you are to gain interest, the people that are going to be interested are not who you want, right? You can put out all the amazing things that you did, but the honest truth is, I have a spinal cord injury. This is the reality of it. You want to look at what it
Absolutely.
causes? This is it. I don't want to bait and switch. Like, oh, now that you're interested in me, can you deal with it? You got to decide if you can deal with it. And if you can't, I
Mhm.
mean, I think you might not know initially, and maybe they'll be hesitant in getting back to
Yeah.
you, and maybe you have to build a friendship before they start to go, hey, that's not really that weird to date them. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's hard. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we're getting the message to wrap things up, but
Time to up.
love is possible regardless of your ability or disability. You
Yes.
may need to reassess how you're looking for it, where you're looking for it, and if you're being authentic, but there's always somebody out there, as they say, you just have to be authentic. I like that.
And
A
Absolutely.
and
win
there's
for every
so
cup.
much love. There's so much different ways to have love in your life. So
Absolutely.
many different
Mhm.
ways to have love in your life.
Yeah.
We are fed that we need this romantic love to be whole and real.
Yeah.
There are so many ways to love and to be loved and to share love, and
Yeah.
that is up to you to decide.
Yeah. Mhm.
Juliana,
All
your
right.
And
last word.
we love our sponsors. She
Absolutely.
said, making a segue. We especially love all mobility professionals and urology professionals, some of the nicest and greatest and people you're ever going to meet over there. And they really understand and appreciate our community.
Absolutely.
Speaking of nonprofits and fundraisers, I have seen them at many, many fundraisers.
Yes.
They're really authentic and mature.
Yes. And they help
Hey.
make this show possible. So thank you.
Mm,
Yes, thank
And
you so
mhm.
thank
much.
you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Valentine's, and remember, your heart is whole, even if it's not connected to somebody else's.
And remember
Nice.
what Miley Cyrus says, I can buy myself flowers. So can you?
Yes, yes.
And next month, first Thursday of next month, we will be at the Abilities Expo. It's the setup day. So I will be coming to you from the ability backstage at the Abilities Expo during setup. So I can tell you some of the secrets nobody ever gets to hear or see
Ooh, behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
behind the scenes at the LA Abilities Expo next month.
Next month, 8th
Thanks
and 9th, right?
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
All
Have a
right.
great
Take
one.
care, guys.
Bye.